All right, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. I'm really excited. We've got a great group here, and we'll introduce them in just a bit. But to get started, my name is Sam Bishop Green, Associate Director of Admissions here at the UC Davis MBA program. Again, as we go, if you have questions, feel free to enter them in the Q&A box. Today, we're going to talk about some of the highlights of the UC Davis MBA curriculum, as well as hear directly from current students, faculty, and industry leaders. The highlights of our curriculum are experiential hands-on learning to solve real-world strategic problems for top industry leaders and promising startups, close relationship with thought leaders, work with our world-class research faculty and industry experts and develop lifelong connections, as well as our UC Davis expertise. Dive deep into the individual industries, leveraging our partnerships with UC Davis corporate connections and departments across campus. On the screen, you'll see an outline of our curriculum. Regardless of whether you're doing the full-time program or the part-time program, these classes and general curriculum are going to remain the same. The schedule will just be a little bit different. So the curriculum is anchored by the core classes that you see here that give you a full 360-degree view of business, and then it allows you to pick your elective starting winter quarter and all throughout most of your second year. You get to build the curriculum that works best for you. For our part-time students, it'll be a slightly different schedule, but again, the core classes will be the same. The number of electives are generally the same. On our website, we'll have it mapped out for both the full-time program, as you see here, as well as the part-time program with the 3-year option, as well as our accelerated 2-year option. So when we talk about your electives and building your curriculum, we have a number of self-guided concentrations. And the key to this is you get to customize your MBA curriculum to what suits you best. So on the screen, you'll see some of the areas that our students can concentrate in. For each of those on our website, we'll have a list of questions, list of courses we recommend you take in those areas. However, it's completely up to you. It's up to you that if you want to do strategy, but there's a marketing class one quarter that you think is going to work better for you, you're free to take it. If you want to do finance and accounting, but think, technology management is going to help you, that's really, your decision to make. And it's that individualized curriculum that's something we're really proud of, and I think that differentiates us from other universities. Another big piece that we're adding this year, and I'm going to touch on it at the end of the webinar, is our industry immersion. So we will be bringing in industry experts, faculty members, and other students focusing on food and agriculture, biotechnology, sustainable energy, and CFOs for technology during winter quarter. Even if you're not interested in one of those fields, I'm going to talk about the benefits to all of our MBA students and why these should be of interest to you. So a bulk of the webinar today is we want to talk about our IMP project. Our strategic project that's part of your Capstone, the 10-week project that you do. And I'd like to introduce Daria Costello, who's going to take you through the different pieces of the IMP project and give some background on those. So welcome, Daria. Thank you for joining.
Thank you for having me. So under the UC Davis MBA curriculum slide, on year 2 in fall quarter, it does indicate the 10-week integrated management capstone course. And that may vary in terms of when you take it, whether you're a full-time student or a part-time student, what quarter or what year. But it is a capstone degree requirement for all 3 MBA programs. And the capstone requirement means that it's supposed to be cross-functional and supposed to really encapsulate the core competencies that students have been studying in their first year or first 2 years. Right, okay.
So I'm going to move forward. There we go.
Okay. So the projects are driven by a number of things. They're driven by student interest. They're driven by again, the core curriculum. So it's the capstone degree requirement, which is intended to codify the learning that students have done in their core courses. It does provide an opportunity to test out skills in a real world business challenge. and integrate with that the team dynamic skills, communication skills, and challenges of possibly working in an industry or field or functional area that may be unfamiliar in your professional background. So the projects function very much like a strategic consulting engagement, where you're the client team, you're the engagement team, and you work with a sponsor, a client sponsor, with a team of 6 students over the 10-week quarter, give or take a couple of weeks on either side, on the business challenge that they present. You develop a project scope along with the client sponsor. You're also guided very closely by a faculty advisor, and Joe Denizio will talk a little bit more about that role. And then you go through the 10-week quarter with a project launch in the first week of the quarter, go through 5 to 6 weeks of discovery and research. There's an interim meeting where you have a discussion with the client sponsor regarding things that have come up and kind of present the course that you're on and whether you need to do any corrections or changes. And then the final week of the quarter, there's a final project report where you present all of your background and analysis and do a complete presentation of all your findings. So some of our past client sponsors have been, they've come from a broad range of backgrounds. There's consulting companies, biotech, communications, a lot of technology companies, a lot of food and ag tech. And we have a very close relationship with the Mars company so that they are a frequent client sponsor. But we really do try to cull from a broad range of industries and backgrounds so that we have sort of the opportunity to work with a number of industries and business partners, and also be able to offer those to students so that they have the most choice possible.
Great. So, and I know that was a quick introduction, but what we wanted to do was spend time actually letting you guys hear directly from people on their projects. I think that that's probably the most beneficial piece we can give you. So we've got a panel here. So we got Joe Denizio helps shepherd these projects through, acts as a faculty advisor. We have Daria, who you just heard from. Jenny Hebes, who is at Mars and oversees projects from a company side. And then Julianne, who's one of our second-year MBA students who's going through this whole process right now. So I've got a list of questions. Again, enter any in the box as we go through. But to start off, Daria, you talked about just a little bit, how do we source projects?
So the project sourcing is informed by essentially 3 things. The first one is the student interest, what they're interested in studying and really interested in diving into, the academic rigor of the project requirement for the academic course, and the goal is to provide a valuable product for the client sponsor in order, to kind of solidify the business partnership with the school and those kind of relationships. The project, again, it's the capstone degree requirement for the MBA degree. So the projects are intended to encapsulate the core competencies that students are expected to master in their first or second year of study. So ideally, projects are informed by student interest that we gauge in a survey. In the quarter prior to the student conducting, going through the process, we find out what industries, functional areas are of greatest interest to each cohort. And then we sort of ask them, what is your dream company and your dream scenario, companies that you'd like to work with? So we kind of generate a list of sort of our goal companies that we'd like to work with. And some we have relationships with existing and some we don't. And so there's sort of a range that we approach for projects every quarter. And then finally, the projects need to fulfill the pedagogical mission of, the cross-functional applications that really challenge students' critical thinking and leadership skills and the ability to work with a team to create a successful result for the client sponsor.
Great. So Joe, what role does the faculty advisor play in the IMP project?
So it's an interesting challenge because we want to, as Daria mentioned, fulfill our academic requirements and make sure that we deliver against the UC requirements for a Capstone course, which among other things include demonstration of integration of the core principles, things like finance, strategy, marketing, statistics, but also works on a real-world problem that has economic value for our client sponsors and give the students the opportunity to stretch their legs as leaders and managers of each other. So we play an active role working with Daria and the business development team on the selection of the projects. And we're looking for those Goldilocks projects, ones that have enough gravitas that are worthy of 6 students putting a lot of effort against them, but not so challenging that they can't be accomplished in a quarter's time by students that are, if you're in the part-time program working as well, and even in the full-time program, you're likely to have other obligations. Our role also is to provide counsel and support. So to be clear, these are student-led teams. And so the faculty help identify and train the faculty leads, the student leads who work with the faculty leads in support of the project. And so we've set up a fellowship program. So each team will have a student lead who is the primary contact with the faculty and the client sponsor and works with the team of students. And then provide analytical and other network support for the team. So our goal as faculty is help support the team effort, but this is very much a student team-led and student team-driven effort. And at the end of the day, success is when the team has been able not only to establish the analytical basis for solving the opportunity or the challenge, but also to build a relationship with the client sponsor and deliver something that's going to have value to the client sponsor in the near term, and candidly builds a long-term relationship between our institution, between the GSM and the client sponsor, which only helps advance the interests of all of our alums.
Great. Now, so Jenny, not only are you overseeing these projects on behalf of Mars, you are actually also a GSM alum who went through this experience yourself. What advice would you give students about the process and what you know now that you wish you knew as a student?
Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to the program. You guys are in for an incredible 2 or 3 years. Really, I think the time that you're going to spend at the GSM and doing these projects is going to be an incredibly transformative experience. So I'm excited can't see you all, but I'm excited to meet you all virtually. I think in terms of advice to give you guys, are you talking about advice kind of at the beginning of the process when you're selecting projects, or just throughout the whole IMP experience?
Both, either. What would you, if you had to kind of rank your #1 piece of advice, start to finish, what would you say you wish you knew?
Yeah,
looking back on it.
I would say treat it like the real world. The more you put into the impact project, the more you get out of it. And I know that could sound cliche, but you can all remember the difference between a project you worked on at some point in your life so far that you were really, really excited about. And you can probably all remember the lessons you learned from that and the relationships that you built and the references you got or the things it led to down the road versus the homework assignments and the tests you studied for in your lives that you just didn't care that much about, and you just you got through it, and everything may sound very exciting now if you're at the beginning of your careers, or of your MBA journeys, I mean. But by the end of your MBA journey, you're going to be you're going to be distracted. You're going to be thinking about, your job and your job process and where you're going to land after your MBA, and it's easy to get distracted. So just remember this advice now, when 2 years from now, you're tempted to be distracted, and not take it as seriously. And I would just say, put your all into it. That's what the employers expect out of it, to be, to really be honest and represent the company side of things. The companies are paying a pretty penny for your work, right? It's definitely not insignificant fee that we pay to be a part of this program, and year after year we get great work out of it. And I personally have now utilized the impact projects to move major initiatives forward across Mars, and I've involved multiple teams of different colleagues across the entire enterprise, and repeatedly people are very excited and pleased with the quality of the results. And we hope that continues. So take it seriously. It can lead to great things, and it's good for everyone when you do.
Great. And Jenny, we'll circle back and talk a little bit more about the client side, but I know Julianne has to get out of here in a few minutes to go work another presentation, so I want to make sure we get her input. So the current MBA student in the process of finishing your IMP project in the next week. So walk us through your experience.
Sure. So as Sam mentioned, I'm in the final stretches, so it's very fresh for me, and I can speak to it. I've actually been a team lead for my project, which has been a very interesting process, and the impact project, the IMP project, was one of the main reasons why I chose UC Davis, because I really came to business school to learn how to be an effective manager and a better leader. And so having the opportunity to work with a group of my peers and lead them through this effort was one that I really wanted to take advantage of, and it has not disappointed. It's been a good growth experience. It's certainly not always easy and at times painful, but that's part of it. And I've learned a lot about myself as a leader and about working with people who are very intelligent, highly skilled, and just a great group of peers. I think what has been interesting to me is, initially when we were assigned our projects, you kind of assess, oh, these are people who I've worked with before, these are people that I've not worked with within my own cohort, and you kind of look at everyone else's teams and can think, oh, they have a really strong group, or my group is really strong, although I don't know them very well personally. And it's been such a pleasant surprise for me to work with people who I hadn't necessarily worked with in the past on projects, but to see us all really come together for this effort and work towards this common project and really give it our all has been a really rewarding experience, and something that I didn't expect necessarily coming into it was to form bonds with my classmates that didn't exist prior. That being said, I think one of the challenges as a team lead and both as a team member or someone working on the project is this, as Joe mentioned, is a completely student-driven effort. And for a lot of people, myself included, it's hard when you've been in school for a year or for most of your life probably to operate then outside the confines of a classroom and a syllabus and a curriculum, and to be handed a very ambiguous problem and learn how to dissect it and how to break it down into manageable pieces that you're going to accomplish over 10 weeks. That's a challenge for a big part of the project, and that's real life. I think that's work. So it's been a really great experience to have that parallel and to decide how to work with a team to face something that's very ambiguous and hopefully cross the finish line.
Well, good. And I know you've got to take off in a couple minutes, but is there anything else you want to impart? I mean, you hit on something that was surprising and unexpected. Is there anything else that people are thinking about UC Davis, thinking about how they would tackle the project, ranking it, anything you would impart on them?
Yeah, I think to kind of sum up some of the points I hit on, one thing that's very special about UC Davis is that we're a small school, and that means a lot of things. It means access to faculty, it means getting to know your classmates very well, and really relying on them and learning from them as much as you learn from your courses and your professors. And so this project, I think, really has been effective in all the ways that I mentioned, because we have a great cohort and it's a small group of people and we know each other well, and we're able to know each other's strengths, interests, areas that we want to improve on, and we're comfortable being candid with one another and saying, and within the boundaries of our project, this is something I'd like to work on personally. I'd love a chance to exercise that and feel that out with this project, or I don't want to do this at all. I'm not comfortable. And so how can you guys help me and work with that? And I think that really is a result of the class and the thoughtful admission selection process that goes into building the class. So I think it all stems from that. And overall, that's been one of the most incredible things about my experience thus far. Is I didn't go into business school expecting to really like people or make friends. And so I was completely blown away that I now have 50 friends that I care about and respect and have learned tremendous amounts from, both within the project and just in general.
Great, thank you. So Jenny, to circle back, and I know you started to touch on it, from the client sponsor side, what kind of projects do you find to be the most successful?
I find the projects where students are being really thoughtful and can ask questions that will further the discussion and the quality of the outcome, at least on the Mars side. And I think in life, like when you get handed a project at work, you're never going to have all of the parameters laid out exactly for you. And so, we do our best to scope the projects ahead of time and to figure out generally who the main, counterparts and external actors are that students will need to collaborate with. But there's always still a lot of pieces that need to be filled in. And, if we knew all the details, we probably wouldn't need to commission a project, right? And so I really appreciate the projects where students, take what they're given, and then they really kind of think critically about, like, okay, is this the best way to go about it? Like, are there other angles we could be approaching it from? What's the real end goal here? I love it when students bring in their experience from, their previous careers and open up totally new insights for us. I think, yeah, so the ones where the students, and going back to taking it seriously, I find that the students that are really putting that kind of critical thinking and just enthusiasm into it are the ones that are, passionate and diving deep into it and really taking it seriously. And the ones that kind of hope that it's going to be more prescriptive is where we kind of, there's a little bit more of a push and pull, but that rarely happens.
Great. Daria, what is the selection process for students?
So we typically accept a number of proposals for each quarter. We run projects fall, winter, and spring quarter every year. We typically get more proposals than we have teams to complete the project. So when we receive a proposal, the staff and the faculty vet each proposal, kind of flesh them out and make sure they're fulfilling all of our academic requirements. And then we present them to students in a poll in which the students rank order the projects in terms of their preference. So if we have 12 project proposals, they'll rank them in terms of number 1, most interested, number 12, least interested. And then from there, we cast the project based on their preferences. So also we have kind of a different ways that students approach things. Like Julianne was saying, there's sometimes students can select a project that's right in their wheelhouse. We have a kind of a range of projects, so sometimes it's right in line with what they've been doing professionally for the past several years. Sometimes they want to go sort of outside their comfort zone and stretch themselves a little bit, so they might select a functional area or an industry that they're semi-unfamiliar with, but they have enough of sort of an engine that they feel like they can challenge themselves to work through that. So there's a number of different approaches and ways students select, kind of rank order their own preferences. And so hopefully the goal is that we have enough of a range of projects that everyone will be satisfied and have an excellent experience.
And I think one way to approach it, and when I talk to students too, is in life and business, you don't always get to pick what's thrown at you. Mm-hmm. And that ability to take on a project that maybe you're unfamiliar with is going to be super helpful. Your boss could walk into your office one day and say, I need you to do this. And you may know nothing about it. It may not interest you, but you have to get it done. And you may have to leverage teammates or coworkers or other people to get it done. So just that process of how do you attack a problem? How do you solve it? How do you work together? Regardless of what company it's for or what function or industry, I think is a really beneficial tool for our students to be able to have at the end of the day. Joe, what advice do you have for students to maximize their IMT project experience?
I think Daria and Julianne both touched on the first most important thing, and Jenny as well, which is that you get out of it what you put into it. And students are going to make a sacrifice to come to get their degree, whether it's full-time or part-time. It's financial sacrifice, it's time away from other things. And so, as faculty, we want to provide the foundation for our students to get the most out of it. But at the end of the day, it's about, are you motivated and committed to doing that? And the students that do get a tremendous amount of it. So a big part of it is being motivated to learn. I think the second, Julian talked about it quite eloquently, is be comfortable with uncertainty. There's no special table in the back of the case that's going to give you the magical answer. These are real clients with real opportunities. And as Jenny said, if they knew the answer, they wouldn't have engaged the project. So recognizing uncertainty is a big part of this. The third thing is, this is a great opportunity for those of you that are going to live in the gig economy, where you're working not just with people in your company, but with other companies across the globe, to realize that most of your relationships going forward are going to be more peer or ill-defined than I work for X and I take direction from that person. And so in a peer situation, although we do have a team lead, the team has to self-organize and figure out how to work together, and no one is benighted as being in charge with the senior VP title. So a big part of success is recognizing that building a team, a la boys in the boat, figuring out how to get 6 people to row in concert is the critical part of success. And the last is embracing the notion that working on any kind of challenge associated with integrating all these disciplines and pushing yourself to build this kind of effective team is going to benefit you. I do agree with Daria. Often, a particular interest or function can add a little bit of incentive, but at the core, this is about being able to apply your critical analytical thinking skills in a way that's going to drive a real result, and that can be across any function and any industry.
Great. So those are kind of the set questions I had. If anybody else has got a question specific to this panel here, Julian did have to step out, so I'd say for Joe, Jenny, or Daria, please type it in real quick. But are there any kind of parting words to go around? And I'll, Jenny, we can start with you. Is there anything else that we missed or didn't hit on, or you think is important for prospective students to know about the project?
I would say, speaking specifically for Mars and as a prior student, if there's an area, like a functional area or, a specific topic that really interests you, and that you would like to get some hands-on experience on, it can't hurt to speak up now. I know Joe and Daria are constantly sourcing projects, and if there's something on the horizon that might actually fit something that you're super interested in, it can't hurt to try and make that match. And the same goes for Mars. I know often across Davis, Mars is we do a lot of work, and we're known as kind of food and ag and whatnot, but really we're a gigantic CPG company that has a presence in multiple hundreds of markets all over the world. We're a digital company, we're a human resources company, we're a manufacturing company, a sourcing company. And so, all of those functions are what it takes to keep our global enterprise running. And if any of those topics are of interest to students, we can always work to find a project that might be catered to your specific interests.
And before we move on, Patrick, Jenny, real quick, just want to know, what was your industry, what was your capstone project? What kind of things did you work on? Now, before we do that, all of our students sign NDAs for it, so there's, can't go into deep detail, but high level picture, Jenny, kind of what did you work on as your project?
For my impact project?
Yeah.
It was for Mars. So there's an example of making that connection. We worked on looking at routes to market in India for new products that they're launching in India.
Great. Daria, any last words, thoughts?
So on that note, and just the not just the project side, but the corporate relations side, I know there's a lot of emphasis in the MBA. I mean, the reason you're getting an MBA is to further your career, ostensibly. So I I think what Julianne said is very important about being open to sort of the unexpected benefits of an ambiguous experience and being able to learn from those, but then also to be able to leverage whatever you learn in, you know, it may not have been a project that you're super interested in or in an industry that you had any experience in, but being able to take what you've learned and then extrapolate from that and apply it toward your career is a really important process and important part of the process. We've had students who have worked on projects that weren't directly related to their career, but then they've been able to sort of take what they've learned and make it into a really valuable experience. I can think of one student in particular was able to contact an employer and say, hey, I just did this project. Here's what I learned and here's why I think I can help you. And he was hired by the company. So it can be a broad range of experiences that contribute to your overall success in learning.
Great. Joe, any last words?
Yeah, the only thing I'll say is at the end of the day, this really does boil down to the students, and the faculty's role is to build the skeleton, the scaffolding that enable these projects to be successful, and to provide the underpinnings and in some cases the safety net to make sure that things go well. So it's a great opportunity for students to really push themselves because the risk is relatively low, but there are lessons, real world lessons that are learned that then can be applied throughout their careers. And we're focused and dedicated on providing those opportunities. And at the end of the day, the students who really grab hold of them do gain significant benefit from doing them.
Great. Well, panelists, thank you very much for participating. I'm going to hit on a couple other pieces so you guys are free to leave. I know all of our IMP folks are in meetings all day today on projects. Jenny, you're welcome to hang on if you'd like. If not, you can hop off and then I will take us home.
Thank you.
All right. So,
thanks, guys. Good luck.
So one of the things I talked about earlier that kind of rolls into the IMP project example is our industry immersion. So on the screen is a list of people that are coming to speak on campus in winter quarter this year. And it's focused this year on 4 different areas. It's food and agriculture, it is biotechnology, clean and sustainable energy, and CFOs and technology. However, regardless of whether you're interested in one of those fields or not, every MBA student here has the ability to benefit from these industry immersions. For each of these immersions, you're going to get access to high-level executives and UC Davis professors in other departments. They're going to come in each week and give a lecture on a topic in their field. The classes are going to be made up of not just MBA students, but also UC Davis PhD and master's students. In business, you're going to be interacting with a lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds in a lot of different areas, and the ability to have them in the classroom we find is really beneficial. The executives are then going to present a case for you each week, and you're going to solve it in that cross-disciplinary team. So you're going to be working with master's students and PhD students to solve a case, with the executive at the end kind of critiquing your case and walking you through it, and walking you through how their company solved it. So it's this great ability to access high-level talent, other parts of campus that UC Davis has expertise in, and again, every single one is able to, every single MBA student is open to sign up for this. So just like the Impact Project, where you may not be interested in the particular company, the particular field or function, the ability to have access to this, I think, is a great piece that UC Davis is able to offer that not a lot of other schools are able to. That was the biggest piece that we wanted to talk about today. I do see that there's a couple questions here, and I want to try and answer those. So there's a lot of courses listed online. The faculty work every year to put together the list of electives. And so you'll see the electives about 2 quarters in advance. So right now, we're in fall quarter, the winter quarter schedule and the spring quarter schedule are up there. They try and rotate the classes so that everybody has the opportunity to take as many of the electives as possible. Some of it depends on our faculty availability, who's here, what else are they teaching. Sometimes we have adjuncts or lecturers teaching it. Are they available? Are they industry executives? So that really, decides what classes we offer and when. And then we do allow you to take other classes with other graduate programs. There's a cap, and depending on the program that you're in, full-time or part-time, you're able to take a certain number of units at outside master's programs. So are there any other questions? I want to make sure we get questions answered. On the next screen, we'll have my contact information, so you can certainly contact me with questions. But for everybody here, you know, the question is, what's next? So application deadlines. So you guys are the first to hear this, and we're going to announce it probably in the next week or so. We are going to be having some new application deadlines after the first of the year. We've got a new application system in place. We put it in place last year. It's allowed us to be much more efficient and effective in processing applications and getting people answers. And so because of that, we're going to institute a few new deadlines to get people their answers a lot quicker than we have in the past. Be on the lookout. We'll send out an announcement in the next couple of weeks of what those new dates are. But the advice I would have is work on your application, get it ready and as strong as you can, as soon as you can, and we'll have dates that'll make it beneficial for you to get it in as soon as possible. And then I saw Maya just asked a quick question. IMP projects are not limited to certain fields. On our website, we have a list of past projects. We have the slide with the different companies. Some are technology, biotechnology, food and ag, government agencies. It really runs the gamut. Part of it is student interest. What kind of companies are students interested in working with? What kind of companies do we have connections with? What kind of companies have projects at a particular time that they need solved? There will be some companies we work with every year, and you know, when it comes to it, there might not be a project that they have, you know, this time around. So it really is a diverse set, and we really look for that because, again, in business, it's a very important thing to get a bunch of different projects and a lot of different exposure. Patrick is asking about the global perspective at the GSM. So there's a couple options for that. One is the diversity in the classroom. This year's class is about 40–45% international. So right by setting foot on campus, you're looking at a global perspective. You're seeing it in the classroom every single day. And we think that that's really important. The other part, the two options you have are you can study abroad for a quarter with one of 13 different international institutions that we have an agreement with. With business school only being 6 quarters long, 2 years, most of our students don't want to be away for that long. So the more popular option is our international study trip. So during the winter quarter, you'll take a class where you study business in a particular country, and over spring break, you go to that country. So 2 years ago, it was Vietnam. Last year, they went to Cuba, and this year, they're going to Prague. And so again, you have that ability to get immersed in that country and the business going on there. If you start your application within a week from today, we'll be happy to waive your application fee. You've already started it and are in the process of working on it, please email me, and I'm happy to waive your application fee. Just let me know that you were here on the webinar today. Is there any other questions? I know you're all going to think of a million questions after we hang up. You've got my email address there. It's on the screen. Please don't hesitate to reach out and let me know. I appreciate all of you taking the time today. Some of you at your lunch hour, some of you at the middle of the night. Again, appreciate it, and look forward to hearing from you soon.